Hello and welcome to the video. About a year ago I asked on the channel what was the split of pilots running Analogue, one of the HD systems that was available, or both for FPV, and had a really interesting response. The big thing about that was 60% of my audience was still flying Analogue, but if you watch content creators like me and other people here on YouTube, after a couple of minutes, you start to think, hang on a minute, is Analogue dead? Does nobody fly it anymore? Because everyone's talking about DJI, Walksnail, HDZero, HD systems, how to build all that stuff, how to set it up, new features, new functions, firmware. But in fact, an awful lot of you are still Analogue, and there's some very good reasons for that. So, looking at that, I thought, hang on a minute, it's been about 12 months. Why don't I ask the same question again? Now, I did it actually in a hotel out in Florida and managed to set it up as a poll. So I'm not sure you actually managed to see the results, but things have changed subtly in the past 12 months, which is why I'm making this video, to kind of have a look at what that data, potentially what that means as well. I did ask a supplementary question too. How do that split between the HD systems break down? If half to 2/3 of the viewers are Analogue and the rest are HD of some description or fly HD and Analogue, if you're flying HD, what are the systems that you use? DJI, any flavour, HDZero or Walksnail, and that has been really interesting to have a look at as well. So let me go through some of those results. A couple of things to be aware of with this. First of all, these are single data points. They're a single request for information from me on my channel. They may not represent the wider hobby, but it's an interesting snapshot. Second thing I'll say as well is that there are people out there who are very passionate about the HD system that they fly. I understand that. You tend to get invested in technology. You end up spending a lot of money, particularly in HD land, and then you will defend that for everybody else. However, there is a difference between telling somebody why you like the system, which is what I try to do on the channel, and other pilots who tell you should fly the system because it's the best one. As I've already mentioned, best and better are really terrible terms to use when comparing things, because best and better are subjective, and none of these HD systems are perfect. All of them have flaws and things that they aren't great at. That's why we have lots of different pilots arguing the toss over which one is better. And that's because what's better for me might not be better for you, unless I fully understand what kind of experience you're interested in, how much money you've got, what kind of models you fly, what your skill level is, what your ambition is with a HD system, how far away you want to fly, how flexible you need it to be, what key functionality is you need out of the FPV system. I can't actually tell you what's best. But there are lots of other people out there who, despite not knowing what you want out of the HD system, will tell you which one is best for you. So be incredibly careful about those kind of comments and that kind of commentary. So let's have a look at the responses and the split when I did the question last year. I think it was August in 2020. The big surprise for me when I did it was the split. 60% was Analogue, and then 21% was HD and Analogue, and then only 20% was HD only. And again, there is a portion in this HD community that is very, very vocal that will tell you that Analogue is dead. However, looking at this, particularly a year ago, it's pretty clear to see it really isn't. It might not be getting a lot of love and attention, but in terms of the number of people in the air flying it, from this single survey, there's an awful lot indeed. And this was a big surprise to me, because until I did this review, I thought that everyone was kind of following in my footsteps, where I put my toe in the water with the original DJI system and then started to move along and replace their Analogue stuff. But it kind of relies on you having the money and time to be able to do that, and that's something that not all pilots have access to. If we bring up the results for the next one, the one that I've just done, and compare them, we can see here that although the number of responses were almost identical, slightly more this time. Thank you to everyone again, for anybody that actually took the time to click on these. I really appreciate it. I know there's an awful lot of demands for your time, including things on social media. So thank you to everyone that did click and got back in touch. This time though, there are some changes. The Analogue part has dropped down from 60% to 48%. So that has got smaller. The amount of people who are flying HD and analog at the same time, and I would probably count myself in here. I don't do much analog, but there are analog systems that I'm continuing to get in and test and play with and make content on because of the large number of analog pilots who watch my channel. But I would definitely be in here. And then we have quite a big increase in the HD only part, 28%. Why have these two grown and this shrunk? Well, I think it's because there have been pilots migrating from one place to another. So in this particular instance, I think we have analog pilots who are going into this territory where they fly analog and HD as they are in that transitional phase. And then those pilots that are in here, that were in here last year, then what they've done is they have then potentially maybe replaced the analog part of their flying equipment to be completely HD digital, and they've moved across. So correspondingly, the HD only has grown by 8%, and the HD and analog flyers have grown by 3%, which means that the analog only part of the hobby has dipped under 50%. I think this is one of those things I'm going to do every August from here on in, just to track these trends. But this is really interesting, but still shows that just under 50% of the audience on this channel anyway is analog only, and tells me very strongly that analog is still something I need to make content for. I then asked, well, what is the split between those HD systems? We'll talk just about the top three for now. The DJI, either the original V1, V2, or the new goggle system with the O3 Air unit, or then there is the Walksnail system, or there is the HDZero system. And the results were really interesting too. 55% of the flyers out there flying HD were DJI HD. Now, we have to be a little bit careful with this data. The way I set it up was you could only choose one of the three. However, there were a number of comments that said, well, actually, I fly DJI and something else, or I fly all three, or a combination of. So most pilots, I think, got the idea and put the button where the majority of their kit was. So 55% of the HD flying pilots that are out there are currently on one of the DJI HDZero systems. And then 31% is Walksnail, and then 14% is HDZero. Now, looking at this, you could very easily say, well, DJI HD is absolutely kicking everyone else's butt. And by market share right now, I'd say they actually are. However, I think there is a couple of other things that we need to think about this, because this is a snapshot. DJI have had a number of years without any competition for the HD systems. They came out in August 2019, the same month that the original Shark Bite system was going to come out from Fat Shark, which was basically the HDZero system back then. And it had 2 years of no competition from anybody else, really. That also represents 2 or 3 different systems in this one big segment. So the fact it's been in market since August 2019, basically 4 years, I would absolutely expect this segment to be an awful lot bigger. It's a much more mature product set in terms of the time in market. But the really interesting thing is if you take into fact the amount of market share that's been taken within the time that it's been available. Now, if you look at something like Walksnail, for example, Walksnail really came out as a finished product from Fat Shark, Cadix, and Walksnail around June 2022. Probably remember that horrible Rotor Riot kind of sneaky peek video that we were all tantalized with. So that's only been in market just over a year. Which compared when you think that, well, hang on a minute, this is 4 years and this is 1 year. The adoption rate of the Walksnail system has been significantly faster for the same period compared to DJI. And then if you look at the HDZero system, that's been in market a much smaller time too, but again has managed to make quite an appreciable impact on the HD systems that the people are running. So what does this mean? Well, I think this means that it's still a 3-horse race. It's going to be interesting to track this split, because although DJI, I think, had it all their own way for a couple of years before the new systems came out. They are growing very, very quickly and very aggressively. So which one you want, kind of, they're all valid choices. I think there's still also a huge market for HD systems in both net new and analog pilots becoming HD pilots. And I think that's great news for those HD companies out there, so your Walksnails and your HDZeros, who may have thought that coming into it after DJI had basically had an uncompetitive landscape for their HD system for so many years, it was going to be a tough ask. I think looking at the fact that we've got 31% for Walksnail and 14% for HDZero shows that pilots are eager for systems with other benefits and other strengths. I think there are a number of factors that are stopping pilots investing in a HD system. When I asked this last year, there were lots of you that were kind of saying it's too expensive, I want to wait to the spring and then I'll look at making an investment. And it appears that lots of pilots who were in that camp back then probably did. I know that some of my flying friends did. Most of them have gone Walksnail, but then that's because they probably see me rocking up regularly and investing heavily, and they're similar flyers in terms of the models and styles and things they want out of a HD system. But it does mean now there's another tranche of pilots out there who are again looking to make the move into HD in the spring. That's going to be spring 2024, and that might eat away a little bit more at the number of analog only pilots out there and move people into the HD or the hybrid where they're running HD and analog models together. I think until the price comes down, and some pilots out there who are hearing all of the fanboy razzmatazz about these different systems, about why it's best or better, calms down a little bit. I think for some of those pilots that are on the fringe of making the plunge into a HD system, it's just a little bit too much risk and it's too much expense, and I absolutely understand that. But it's interesting to see that analog is absolutely not dead, despite what everyone says. Rumours of its demise have been greatly exaggerated, and it's nice to see that so many pilots are still flying analog. Even 50% of you, 48% of you on this channel are flying it. So I will continue to make content for both HD and analog moving forward. So if you're an analog pilot and you're happy with analog, you know what, that's absolutely fine. You need to fly what makes you happy, what you can afford, what's installed in your base. It's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. But for those of you that are looking to make the move, hopefully that's been interesting. It kind of gives you another data point to consider. Again, caveat, caveat, caveat. Just be aware this is a single survey, or a couple of point-in-time surveys anyway, on the Painless 360 channel. It doesn't represent potentially the rest of the hobby, but it does kind of back up what I've been personally seeing and hearing anecdotally from a number of pilots. But now hopefully there's some numbers here as well. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to click the buttons and to reply. I think I will run this again in August 2024 and we'll see how the split changes. Thank you for watching the video. If you watch my videos and find them useful, then please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the channel a lot. If you really like what I'm doing here, you can become a Patreon and support the time I spend helping others and get access to lots of exclusive benefits. Link is in the video description. Remember that all the videos on the channel are organized into playlists, so you can easily use those playlists to find all the videos on a subject that you are interested in. Add Painless 360 to your searches on Google and YouTube, and it'll help you find my content for any particular topic. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy flying.